have to keep in mind is I can't give away any answers, because even though you're done with that exam and all your classmates are done with this exam, at least since we're recording this, everybody will have access to it. So I can't just be like specifically, no, right, the answer to number 15 is this. But I can talk to you and give you, I can give you the answer without giving it to you verbatim, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that does.
Okay, so we'll talk about it, and I'll give you the answers without just straight up reading them. So
okay,
here we go. Looking at it. Really quickly, do you know what the hydrologic cycle is? Like just in general, what we're talking about when we're talking about the hydrologic.
I thought that I understood it. Yeah, that's when we're talking about water and air and
exactly right. Yeah, like water evaporating into the clouds, and then it rains.
Right.
And like in West Virginia is a great example. It rains in West Virginia, then it goes down the mountains into the rivers, which eventually go downhill towards the Mississippi, which eventually makes its way to the Gulf of Mexico. So it looks, and your answer was half correct, because what is it that makes that water evaporate?
The heat, the sun.
Specifically, like you said in your answer, solar energy, right? That's the thing that's responsible for making it go up. But what's the thing responsible for making it go down? And don't overthink it, just in general.
Yeah, I wanted to say clouds, rain.
That's okay. Just anything. Like what's responsible for anything on Earth going down?
Gravity.
That's it. Yep. So when we're talking about the hydrological cycle, I don't know why I can't say it. But yeah, we're talking about, evaporation makes it go up, and evaporation makes it go up, and it's the gravity that makes it go down.
Right.
So you aren't way off. You mentioned water. Obviously, water is a part of the cycle, but it doesn't necessarily, it's not responsible for it, right? It's not responsible for making things go up and things come down.
Right.
So you did get it wrong, but it sounds like you understand the concept. So that's important.
Right.
Did you have any questions about that one?
No, I think sometimes we probably hurry, and my thought is maybe for the final scheduling,
right,
to take it in person or just not being timed.
Yes, not a bad idea.
A little harder.
Yes.
Right.
All right. So the next question, let's see. I'm trying to think of how to say it without repeating it verbatim. Oh yeah. So basically, there's a question that is just saying, "Hey, of all the natural greenhouse gases, which one is the least abundant?" And that's just one of those things that you just have to memorize. And sadly, some of the questions on the exam have to be like that, because in the grand scheme of things, that's not that important of a question, but it's just what it is. And the answer is, I'll just give it to you. Basically, the answer is methane.
It was methane. Well,
and I think maybe what happened,
I thought I knew that one.
It could be that maybe you, like you said, maybe you read it quickly, and maybe somewhere your eyeballs saw something about the most abundant gas, because the most abundant, like nitrogen's, and that's the answer you chose. Nitrogen is the most abundant gas. It's like 80% of our atmosphere. So maybe that's what you were thinking.
Yeah.
Any questions about that one?
Nope.
All right. Sorry for these noises in the background.
Oh, that's fine.
So the next one, let's see. The next one's about secondary air pollutants. What do you have? What is it? Okay. So again, I'm just trying to think of how to say it without giving it away verbatim, because I want you to know the answer and the concept, but I don't want people watching the video and saying, "Oh yeah, the answer to that specific question is this specific answer." So basically, there was one question where you had a list of secondary air pollutants, or a list of air pollutants, and only one of them was a secondary air pollutant. Yes, that is correct. Okay. So, and the answer, I'll just have to say, it was just ozone.
Okay, because I know it's, and I think in my mind, I'm thinking, because there's primary can be in nitrogen, but can it be secondary too?
The thing
I'm
about
thinking like
primary
there's
is it's like directly from the source, like, and you chose carbon monoxide as an example. So you can get carbon monoxide directly from the combustion of gasoline in an engine, right? Primary.
right.
Ozone is
Okay.
secondary because it's not necessarily a pollutant until it goes through all those chemical reactions in the atmosphere, with the free radicals and the UV, and that's what
Mhm.
makes it a pollutant. So it's not
Okay.
okay. So yeah, any questions about that one?
No.
Okay. Let's see here. Then there was one where there was a list of some major ways of controlling air pollution.
Mhm.
And this is from the book. And that makes it trickier because your incorrect answer is only incorrect because it's not a major one. And that's the way that just the verbiage that the book used.
I know you might not say it, but I wondered if it was the car answer and
Um,
if I'm remembering it correctly. But
no,
then
I'm sorry. Um, now that I'm
or
rereading it and understanding it better, I'm sorry. Your problem wasn't that you chose something correct. You did choose, it's like a list of things that are major steps towards controlling air pollution. And you chose one of the major steps, which is developing agreements among countries to limit air pollution. So one of
yeah,
the
I do
ones that
remember
wasn't
that.
a key step towards controlling air pollution, when this is the correct answer, is the discovery of cures for diseases caused by air pollutants. Because I think that's reaction, right? That's when you're reacting to the air pollution. But the question is
Okay.
talking about controlling the air pollution. So it's a proactive thing as opposed to reactive. And again,
Okay.
obviously finding cures is good, but when it comes to controlling air pollution, it does nothing for that. It's just dealing with the consequences of air pollution.
Understood.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So the next one. So then the next one's about agriculture productivity and advancements that have been made, specifically in developed countries as opposed to developing countries, and specifically the most recent ones. And your answer was drip irrigation, and that is a good one. And I guess the
Mhm.
reason it's wrong is because it's just not the most recent. And again, I apologize for these kind of questions, but it comes directly from the book, the concept, not the wording. Um, and the answer is just basically new technology as far as the crop varieties. Like think about GMOs and things like that. So crop
Mhm.
varieties, polyculture techniques, things like that.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I do remember it saying that.
And this is what, and I'll admittedly, this is one of the tough things about this course is, with these multiple choice exams, a lot of times all the answers are correct and you're literally just looking for the most correct, as
Mhm.
opposed to some multiple choice exams there's a bunch of wrong answers and there's one correct one, and this is a tricky
Right.
course that way. I don't mean for it to be, it's just the nature of the course. But anyway, did you have questions about
Right.
that one?
No.
All right. Okay. And this one, basically, you have a list of gases and you had to choose
Mhm.
which one of them was a synthetic greenhouse gas.
Mhm.
Um, and maybe again, like you said, you were in a hurry
Was
because you did choose a greenhouse gas. It just wasn't a synthetic one, because methane is a greenhouse gas, but it's natural. That's what's basically swamp gas. Um, so the answer is CFCs.
so it was not a natural one.
Exactly, synthetic
Right.
one. Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Oh, synthetic. Yeah.
And on that list, so it's an interesting list of the choices because there's some things that aren't even greenhouse gases. There's some things that aren't synthetic, right? So you got to find
Mhm.
one that brings them both together. But at least you picked a greenhouse gas because again, some of those on there are not greenhouse gases.
Right.
So you're doing okay. You did okay.
Okay.
Next
Yeah.
question. Oh, do you have questions about that?
No.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, so the next one is talking about acid rain. Um,
Mhm.
and acid rain, I think, is the term that most people are familiar with using. Even before you've had this course, excuse me, you've probably used the term acid rain before. But when you think about it, that's a little bit too specific, right? Because What if it's not rain? What if it's snow, for example? So acid rain is actually a subcategory of a more inclusive term. And that's what this is asking. What is the other more inclusive term for acid rain that would
Like
also
the compounds, sulfur dioxide and nitrogen mix?
oh, see, now that's interesting. I love your answer. I'm saying
I don't
the
really
answer
even
to this,
remember the question.
that's okay. I know it's hard because you can't see it, and I'm doing that
Yeah.
on purpose too, because I don't want to like have a recording of all the questions exactly as they're written.
Mhm.
But so I'm saying acid rain, that term, it's too specific, right? There's a broader term for that. And I like what you said. You were going in the other direction, but at least you know what you're talking about. You got even more specific. You were talking about specifically some of the things in acid rain. The answer is simply wet deposition. So
Okay.
again, there's wet deposition that includes rain and snow, and things like that. So that's why that's a tough one.
Okay.
But your answer that you chose, it did have the word deposition in it. So I don't know. Again, maybe you were on the right track. But anyway, are there any questions about that?
No.
Okay. Well, now's a good time to remind you and anybody watching this. I wrote these exams a long time ago, and I got them from the textbook authors, and I kind of reworded them and changed them around a little bit. So if ever you find something and you think I'm wrong and that your answer's right, please let me know. Because at least if you can defend your wrong answer, you might get the point back. Or it could be that I just simply made a mistake and your wrong answer is actually correct. But anyway, okay. So this next one is about climate change, specifically how things are getting warmer. And your book talks about this hypothetical situation. Like, what if tomorrow we just ended everything that leads to things warming? Like we got rid of all the greenhouse gases or stop putting extra greenhouse gases into the air, things like that. Then there's a word for that. Like things would still keep getting warmer, even if we made things perfect tomorrow. And there's a word for that, for things just keep warming up. And I like it. You were on the right track. You chose ambient warming, and that makes sense. That's actually, that could be another word for it if you were coming up with a word. But the name is committed warming.
Okay.
And in a way, I mean, I don't know, ambient warming almost sounds better, but it is committed warming. Like, all right, we're committed to it. We've already put this many greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. We've already taken down, this many trees. So even if we were to fix everything, things are still going to get warmer. And that's committed warming. So any questions about that one?
Nope, that makes sense.
Okay. Let's see the next one. So the next one, this is another thing about air pollution. We're talking about a gas that has been linked to lung cancer. It's an indoor gas. And I don't know for sure, I'm not inside your brain, but if I was thinking about indoor gases that were bad for you, I would also choose what you chose, which was carbon monoxide.
Okay.
A lot of people, you think of carbon monoxide poisoning, right? That's a real,
yes.
I won't say real common, but it's common enough to where I bet most people have heard of it. So I like your answer. You were on the right track, but the answer is radon. It's the radon that links you to lung cancer. Carbon monoxide will just straight up kill you because it prevents cells from absorbing oxygen, basically. But radon is more of a carcinogen. So any questions about that one?
Nope.
That one's pretty straightforward.
Yeah,
and again, that's of all the things listed, only 2 of them were like indoor gases. Not that you couldn't find them outdoors, but only 2 of those are things that you would consider a health hazard indoors. So at least you chose one of the 2 that are health hazards that you would find indoors. So again, you've got some of these wrong, but you weren't like way off.
Okay.
The next question is about agriculture, specifically the origins of agriculture. Let me think about this one. How to word it, how to talk about it. Okay. Wait. Yes, this one's a little bit trickier. It didn't mean for it to be, but I can see how this is tricky because even I had to look at it for a second. We're talking about some of the things that led to, what are some of the things that led to the beginning of agriculture? And the correct answer is something that is actually a result of the origins of agriculture. So the answer is an improved quality of human life. Because this question's, think about it, this question's asking for the cause, not the effect, if that makes sense. And the effect would be improved quality of human life. And that's why that is the incorrect answer, because that is not a cause of agriculture. That is an effect of agriculture.
Okay.
And your answer was climate change, which is one of the things that did lead to possibly the origins of agriculture. So you chose a cause when you were looking for an effect, or when you should have been. Again, who knows?
Right.
Maybe you were in a rush. So any questions about that one?
No.
All right. Okay. So the next one, we're still talking about agriculture here. Obviously, at first, one of the biggest things humans had to challenges humans had to overcome was being able to water their crops, right? Especially in really dry areas. So this question is basically like saying, all right, those places that were able to figure out irrigation, and even though it's a dry climate or dry area, they were still able to water their crops. What's a problem that these kind of places have? If you've figured out the problem of getting your crops watered, then you have a new problem. And the question is basically, what is that? And the answer is just simply the salinization of soils, because you get all this stuff, you get all the water, but because it's hot and dry anyway, you keep putting the water on and it keeps evaporating. But when it evaporates, it's only the water that evaporates, and all the salts and things like that are left behind. So salinization of soils is the answer. Okay. Any questions about that?
Nope.
Okay. And you chose soil erosion, which again, I like that because that is an issue. Anytime you have irrigation, not anytime, but when you're dealing with water, soil erosion is very often a problem. So again, you weren't way off.
Yeah, I think sometimes I'm thinking of things I read in the book, but not in the right place. Exactly.
Right. Okay. The next one. Okay, so this one is basically a vocabulary question. And it's basically, instead of giving you the word and asking for the definition, which is very hard to read and type on a multiple choice exam, it gives you the definition and asks for the word. So I guess I'll just have to read this verbatim because it's a definition from the book. The physical, social, and economic access to sufficient, safe, and nutritious food to meet dietary needs and food preferences needed for an active and healthy lifestyle. And the definition for that definition, the word for that definition is, or the term, sustainable agriculture. Excuse me.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. No, sorry. I was reading what you wrote. It is food security.
Oh, food security. Okay.
And I think the key there is we're talking about having the first portion of the definition is all about like having access to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's what food security is all about. Like there's things called food deserts. Even in West Virginia, we have food deserts. There's places where they don't have great access to food, and that would be food security. And of course, sustainable agriculture is an important thing, but yeah, not the answer. Any questions about that?
Nope. Understood.
Okay. I'm trying not to take all of your time. And speaking of which, this is your meeting, so if anything comes up and like, hey, I got to cut this short, then you're in charge. So just let me know.
I took an early lunch. I'm okay.
Okay. Okay. The next question is, it's another vocabulary question. It's hard I can't really reword this. It just is what it is. The question is basically asking, what is a watershed? And one of the words.
Thought I knew that one.
I like it. Oh, this is another example of being too specific. So the correct answer is it's just an area of land which drains, where the rain goes into rivers and lakes.
I knew it.
And then that's the correct answer, right? And then those rivers and lakes, what do? They go to the ocean. And that's the answer that you chose. Mm-hmm. So it was just, I don't know if you want to say it was too specific or if it was like technically you were describing the part after the rain drains into the rivers and lakes.
Yeah.
So, West Virginia is a watershed you know, and I don't know if you've ever driven around the country, and sometimes you'll see signs that say you are now entering the Potomac watershed or whatever. They tell you where all that water, which river all that water is draining to, or lake.
Right.
So any questions about that one?
No, I won't
Okay.
forget it.
The next one. Okay, so this next one is about flooding. Your book listed some things that you do and do not want to do if you want to avoid flooding. Like there's certain things that we as humans do that make flooding worse, certain things that we do to make them better. And basically this question is saying, here's a list of things that would help the situation. Choose the one that would not help the situation. And the answer is converting meadows into agricultural areas. This kind of goes back to the beginning of the book. I mean, specifically, it does mention this, but this overall concept in the beginning of the book talks about, generally speaking, when humans get involved with nature, we screw it up. So if you're going from more natural to less natural, generally speaking, it's not good. And that's why if we go from meadows to agriculture areas, that would be not good, because meadows are natural. Agriculture areas are relatively not natural, right? And I mean, an agricultural area is definitely more natural than, you know, downtown New York City or something, but it's less natural than converting meadows. Meadows. And your answer was,
I know what question that was.
Okay. Yeah. And you chose converting agricultural fields to residential areas. Hold on now.
Remember.
See? Now, so I'm glad we're doing this, because I might have to change this, and that should change everybody. Well, that should change some people's grades automatically. But again, the concept here is if you're going from more natural to less natural, that's something you want to avoid. And you said converting agricultural fields to residential areas, and that is something you would want to avoid. So apparently there are more than 2 correct answers to this question. Yeah, so let me see. I'm going to adjust this because your answer is also correct. For anybody watching this video, this is why I like about online things. Once I make this one edit to the question, everybody's grade should automatically be changed. What's correct answer? Pretty Meadows. There we go. I'm going to say that is correct. Save changes. All right. You now got that one correct. I'm glad we're having this conversation.
Okay. Yeah.
These are things that are easy to miss. All right. So next question then. Okay, here's another vocabulary question where you get the definition. It asks you for the word. The definition is, oh man, I'm trying not to read it verbatim, but I just kind of have to. Reservoirs and human-made lakes that store water for irrigation, flood control, or energy generation. And the answer is impoundments. And I like, you chose levees, and that's kind of on the right track, right? That is something that is used to, it's sort of like a dam, right? And a dam is also impoundment. So what happened here again?
That's what I was thinking of. Like, I think of like Summersville.
Right.
I thought that's what it was called.
Right. And this is another one of those situations where you weren't, the reason you were incorrect is just because you got too specific. So the word is impoundments. And then from there, you have all those subcategories, levies being one of those subcategories of impoundments.
Right.
So again, you're kind of on the right track, which is good. Maybe not for your grade. I know that doesn't help your grade, but the most important thing here is that you understand the concepts, and it really seems like you do. All right. So any questions about that one?
No.
All right. The next one. This next one's about pesticides. And you're trying to say like, what's something that's good about a pesticide? Like if you're trying to choose a pesticide, what is something that you would look for that is good regarding the environment? Obviously, because it's environmental biology. One of the things you would want from a pesticide is something well, there's a lot, but the correct answer is something that does not leach into the water supply into the ground. So you would want something that didn't do that, right? Because we don't want pesticides in
Yeah.
the water supply. And your answer was broad spectrum, which is interesting. And I don't know.
I was just thinking that meant the least,
Oh, good. So
like not to hurt the bugs and the other things.
awesome. Well, that's good. You got the wrong word, but the correct concept. That's actually broad spectrum is actually the opposite. Broad spectrum is like killing everything. You know, if it's because what you want is a pesticide that only kills the insects that you are trying to kill, right? For your crops, because you don't want to kill things like bees and butterflies and things like that, right? So broad spectrum, that's where that term broad spectrum comes from. It means it's just killing everything. Right. So I like that. It's unfortunate that you chose the wrong word, but you knew the correct concept. All right. So any questions about that one?
No.
All right. Last one. Okay. This next one is about climate change again. And if we're talking about where it comes from in the textbook, this is the portion where they're kind of talking about the evidence for climate change. And we're talking about, all right, how do we know, what has happened prior to, about 200 years ago? Because we weren't around. We didn't have the tools that we have now. So that's the question. Like, how do we know this? And the correct answer, like the things that we look for, the evidence that we use, the data that we get, it comes from changes in fossils. For example, we would know that a certain species is more likely to survive a certain climate than another climate. So you could see the changes in the fossils as you go from like deeper, which is older, to less deep, which is newer. And you could see then like, oh, look about 300,000 years ago, look at all these species. Those are cold weather species. So it must have been cold at that point. That was just an example. Another thing is, for the correct answer, changes in chemical isotopes found in sediments and glacial ice. So again, to remind you, like carbon, you've got carbon 13, carbon 14, normal carbon, carbon 12, things like that. And those were found. People who know more about it than I do can tell you, it's like, oh, well, when it's really cold, you usually find this, or when it's really warm, you'll usually find that. So that's the answer. And your answer was so close. Changes in fossils. So you got the fossils part right. Oh, wow. And okay, in this case, yours was just too specific again. Changes in hydrogen and oxygen isotopes. So you got the thing right. Fossils, isotopes, found in sediments and ice and glacial ice. So the problem was that yours was too specific. And again, this is just off the top of my head. I'm pretty sure hydrogen and oxygen are not the isotopes that we're looking for. But just in case, if you find that in the book, you let me know and say, no, it says right here that those are the isotopes.
I went back and forth on that one.
But again, at least you were on the right track. Had you not been specific and had the hydrogen and oxygen part, you had it correct with the isotopes found in sediments and glacial ice. And that was the last question you missed.
Okay.
All right. So do you have any questions about the exam overall?
No, I don't think so.
All right. So then you wanted to look at the Module 7 lab, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Let me pull it up. Did you have specific questions about it, or did you just want me to talk about it in general?
I have just two big ones.
Okay. Let me pull it up.
Just to really get me started.
Okay. I don't want to do it that way. Excuse me. Let me back up here. Tab. It's pulling up oh so slowly. I've had this computer since I've been working here, and it is showing its age. Okay, here we go. So let me share my screen. Excuse me. Okay, can you see the lab?
Well, since I can't.
Oh, that's right. You can only hear me, right?
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. I forgot about that.
How I thought was, well, if anybody watching, or if you were able when no matter which computer I use, when I go to the U.S. Energy Information, like I can't click on these.
Interesting.
I don't know. I don't know why any labs. I even had someone else share another week with me, and when they sent it to me, it worked. I'm not
Any of the
sure why.
labs?
Yeah, it's both of my computers for some odd reason.
That is odd.
So I typed it in, and I see U.S. Energy Information Outlook.
Okay.
When I find the 7D, I can find it in this site only under 2021.
As opposed
So
to all the.
I'm thinking we need 2017 through 19
Oh, no.
data.
Okay. That's a great question. It's just hard because when I write these labs, I'm torn between giving you so specific. Like I want to give you all the information, be so specific and let you know what all your options are. But again, but then I don't want to have too much stuff written on a lab. It's overwhelming. Basically, it doesn't matter. You just need at least the 3 most recent years. So really 19, 20, 2021 and 22 would work if 2022
Okay.
is up there. As long as you have at least the 3 most recent years, you're good. And then you could even go farther back if you want for extra credit. And to be honest with you, for anybody watching this, I don't know. I'm not going to be that picky. As long as you, obviously, the newer the better. But what I'm trying to
Okay.
teach you with this lab is not necessarily. I'm not necessarily wanting you to know what the trends are currently in, excuse me, renewable energy. I mean, I do want you to know that. But more important than knowing what the current trends are is I want you to be able to look it up for yourself. Because whatever the current trends are right now are going to be different in 2 years. And when
Okay.
like that's the next election, right? Is in 2 years. Yeah. So it would be good if you were able to look this up for yourself when you're trying to decide which political party you're going to be voting for, which candidates or which
Okay.
ballots, initiatives, whatever.
So
So yeah.
since I know how to find it. If you could
Excuse
share
me.
the minute video on how to fill the table out, that would be
Okay.
great.
A video on how to fill the table out.
Uh-huh.
You said you do know how to find that?
I don't know how to do it for sure. I'm a little confused on how to do
Oh,
this Excel sheet.
I understand. Okay. Wish you could see this. It's not too hard if I could just show you. Yeah, you just basically what you're doing is most of it's just copying and pasting, like geothermal from the most recent year, whatever the most recent year is, whether it's 2021, 2020. And I haven't looked at it, so I don't know how recent the year is, but
Okay.
you would take that information, you would copy it and paste it. And then what I did on purpose is if you pay attention to the table, in the little boxes that you're filling out, some of them say enter observation. So that's the data you're going to copy and paste. And the
Okay.
other one
I
says
see
enter
that.
calculation. So there's a part, the part that you calculate that you're not getting the information from the website. That says enter calculation.
Okay. I see.
That being said, even though we've already had this conversation, if anytime this week, if you can get to a computer where you can see, maybe we can meet again and I could show you how, and I could record it, and then we could have that video too which would be
Okay.
beneficial to your classmates. So just let me know.
Okay. That sounds good. I'm gonna give it a try, and that way I'll at least have it done, and then I can maybe do that later this week on my home computer.
Okay. Well, did you have any other questions or concerns?
No,
Anything else that we can cover?
I think I'm good.
Great. Well, thank you for letting me record it. That'll be
Oh,
beneficial
thank you.
to your classmates. And as a reminder, please send me an email that says, "Hey, we had this meeting. Please give me the
Okay.
10% boost for my exam grade." That way I
Okay,
have
I sure
a paper
will.
trail. All right.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Have a good day.